he's a grown man. If he wants to wear his hat out, he can. I wear mine. I take mine off when I come in just 'cause it sweats my head.
We were in court one time, and
You don't wanna wear
this
one.
was at magistrate court, and he said there was a lady who wore her hat, and it was for an eviction. Anyway, they said, I liked what Brian Jones said. He said, I have to say, this is the first time anyone has worn a hat in my court. And because she didn't realize she wasn't supposed to, it was a Burger King hat. And he said, but I'm going to let you do it. He said, it's very disrespectful, but I'm going to let you do it. So that was interesting. Okay, let's all, it's 6:30. Let's stand up, and we're going to have Dr. Whaley, we can call the meeting to order and have Dr. Whaley lead us in both prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we just thank you for this great community that nourishes us and allows us to live here in peace and tranquility. We ask you to bless the deliberations that have gone on for this city council now for about 18 months. Bless our work and our work product, and bless this meeting and this community. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all for coming out. This should be a pretty short meeting. We're here to discuss a veto of ordinance number BR 2023-06, and item 3 is discussion and possible vote on the veto. So we'll begin discussion. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say?
Yes, if I may.
Yes, please.
Okay. I would guess in deference to my, can everybody hear me okay? I guess in deference to my age, I've been asked to say a few words. First, the purpose of this meeting is to discuss the veto. I feel like it is appropriate to give some background for this city council and this mayor. The last time that these ordinances were written and comprehensively reviewed was 1978. At multiple times over the years, and particularly in the year 2021, the city council has made modifications and adjustments and some changes. Prior to the election of this city council, the previous city council had suggested that the zoning ordinances needed a comprehensive review and modification, that COVID had interrupted their work product, and credit goes to them to have passed the ball to this city council. We began as a group, all of us, in September of 2021 to qualify for election and to run for election. And all of us, to greater or lesser degrees, had a shared vision and shared values regarding the community and the preservation of the community. We were elected in November of 2021, and between that election and our installation in January, we did not violate any sunshine laws by meeting on several occasions, most of them in my apartment since it's downtown, where we discussed what we thought the city council needed to do. Quickly it became apparent that we needed a mission statement, we needed core values, we needed meeting rules and rules of decorum to run meetings. So we had multiple meetings, and we agreed that the first order of business would be to correct those 3 admissions from previous city councils. We then prioritized what we thought the appropriate activities would be as the first few months of our period began. We were prioritizing activities, but immediately recognized that there would be turnover in our professional staff. So we committed to create the best staff we could, not knowing how many places we would have to fill. The prior administration had suggested a city manager form of government, but COVID prevented them from doing so. And we felt that we had to first take care of our staff positions, second, find a city administrator, and thirdly, a city attorney. That work took several months, and our first, down the road from those immediate needs was do something about zoning. So as it has been clearly publicized, our first meeting with a consultant, Paige Hadley, who was a professional recommended to us, with our new city administrator, praise the Lord for his experience and his expertise, and our new city attorney, who had had extensive previous experience in numerous governments. We had our first public workshop. Everybody that was invited to that and attended that had opportunity to have input beginning in April of last year. We as individuals, the mayor and each member of the city council, began at that point to make individualized contact with our voters, of other city governments, other entities, and we all began a period of self-education. Everything we did was done in public, and all of our workshops were done in public. The citizens had an opportunity to talk to us at any time beginning in April of last year. I admire and I am very grateful for the amount of time, efforts, diligence that all members of the city council and the mayor and the city administrator and the staff and the city attorney have done in trying to understand, comprehensively review, and modify our voting rules. I am confident that we had no violations of the open meeting rules, but we did frequently talk one with one another, and we were continually involved in what I would call collegial discussions in great detail, and I would have to say nauseating length, and hours and hours that we did. There was much give and take. There was much compromise. Our work product, which is part one of a multiple part effort, was concluded in early March. Everybody that is on this dais agreed with that work product, and it was submitted to the City Council for its first reading on March the 5th. We all expressed pride in that work product. The second reading on March the 21st was held while I was in the intensive care unit, and thank you for the community for my support at that time. But that was passed 4-0 by the City Council. It was presented to the mayor on March the 24th, and a few hours before the ticking time of whatever the rules say, she vetoed it. That veto is the only thing on tonight's agenda. That's it. The mayor, in her veto, requested that the City Council override the veto. The mayor had additional suggestions which are not on the table. Briefly, those suggestions were related to 3 items of pages of items that appear in this resolution that are special use and require approval each and every time by the City Council. I would point out that in addition to the 3 that she mentioned, the one that raises its head every time I look at the list is adult businesses, which I don't think have any position in this community. Those things are in there because they're required to be in there, as I understand it, by state law or previous case law or whatever. No one on this City Council wants to see an adult business, nor do they want to see other things that are under conditional use there. And I am confident when I say that anybody who comes before this council to propose one of these special uses will find a very open, educated review and very strict rules for or conditions for use or reasons for refusal. So I do not feel that there is any reason not to make a formal motion that the city council overturn the mayor's veto on BR 2023-06, and I make that motion.
If we're still in discussion, I would like to, if you have a second, do you want a second?
I will second.
Okay, and then we'll open up for discussion. I would like to say, this was a very comprehensive plan. It's not been updated but 11 times since 1978. One of those we did add an adult business ordinance because that is state law. However, it is not state law that you have landfills in your ordinance as conditional use. It's not state law that you have paper manufacturing plants, and it's not state law that you allow go-kart and motorbike tracks. Those have been major concerns. They're things that I have mentioned to the council during workshops, during council meetings, several times, that no one has adhered to my suggestions. Let me also go back and talk about one other thing. When I ran for mayor this time, I mentioned we had a forum at the Performing Arts Center, and a question came up about the buildings in downtown. And I was on the council that changed that from 60 feet to 35 feet in 2021. My statement at the time was this. I said, I look back, none of us thought that a 60-foot building would go in. No one ever thought it until it happened. And then it happened, and it was too late. And when it's too late, it's too late. Why open a door for these uses? Why let the monster in? That's my philosophy. If you offer an opportunity for it, it could happen. Same thing, I've had people really complaining about the noise from helicopters. And we have the helicopter tours in Blue Ridge, and they fly over Blue Ridge a lot. And we've been approached about allowing one in the city of Blue Ridge. It's not on the approved use as a conditional use. Therefore, it never even made it to the council to become a possibility of happening. You never know what the next council is going to be. This has not been updated, as Dr. Whaley said, since 1978. And it's been updated 11 times. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us as a council to remove these things. And I could not in good conscience sign that. And I'm very disappointed in the rest of you that you feel that you need to leave these in there as conditional use. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Okay, any other discussion?
Yes, I want to say that they are conditional uses, which that didn't get put out there to the public, is my understanding.
They are very much conditional uses,
Yes, they are.
which means they could certainly happen. They're an open door.
Yes. But we do have other parts of our zoning, and that we need to go through all of it. So it wasn't the appropriate time to put it in here. It wasn't the proper way to do it.
So so she's saying that, but that's, Angie, what we've been going over. It's on page, it's in this ordinance. So if it's in this ordinance and you've got all of them marked through, why would it not be the appropriate time to deal with it when you're actually dealing with it? That makes no sense.
Did the council vote on that? I mean, I don't recall that. Was that in those changes?
They're in this ordinance. Yes. Did you
Are
not
they
read
in
it?
Okay. What ordinance?
The ordinance
I'm missing this.
Ordinance number BR 2023-06. It's in this ordinance. Did you not read it? Because I read it, every page of it, and it's in there. This is where we are addressing it.
I don't recall.
I don't
that's
Those
what,
were the
Yeah.
Okay.
existing ordinance.
right.
Yes.
So
So there's,
was it existing in the existing ordinance, or was it the council's proposed
so
changes?
these are actually existing, and that's why I was asking they be removed. They've been in there since 1978, and I would hope that this council would have the fortitude to remove them because they are being addressed. The old approved uses are all marked through. We've added new categories and then changed some to others, so it would be the appropriate time to do that, I would think, instead of coming back later. Do it while you're addressing these issues. I would never have vetoed something that wasn't part of the ordinance.
The
Let's be
legal,
clear to
the
that.
legal thing to do is we're voting, what if this council voted on, the changes, that's what you get to veto. You don't get to, you can't just.
We're
come in
not
and-
voting on just changes. You're voting on this entire ordinance.
No,
Is
we
that
did not.
correct, Chuck?
You are adopting ordinance number BR 2023-06, which is a set of comprehensive changes to the existing zoning ordinance.
And I'll be honest, guys, this concerns me a lot because I found out that one council member had not even read the ordinance. And until this week, I don't even know if you've read it. Have you read it yet? You.
Yes.
So,
We know what we
so,
voted.
so I'm confused if you don't really all know what you're voting on.
Let me, I'm gonna,
Why would you assume
made
that
the
I've not
decision
read it?
on what we wanted to
Someone
vote.
tell
We
me.
voted on what we wanted, so I don't know what you're talking about.
So wait a
You're
minute.
trying to do
So
something
you're saying,
illegal
so you're saying you want,
against the
you're
the
saying
state law.
you're saying you, okay, me vetoing this is against state law because
No,
it addresses
no,
that.
but you're trying to put something in that we've not even, that's not even been before, we didn't.
Can we,
So, no, you
can we,
didn't,
can we vote?
you did
Wait,
not
I-
ask, you did not
I'd like to
ask
make
for
a
this
comment
at
or
all.
say something.
This is part of the ordinance that you're voting on,
No,
Angie.
it's not.
It's on pages 51 through 61. It tells very clearly that those have not been removed. The Planning Commission even recognized that. All three of the members of the Planning Commission said that they recommended that certain provisions, certain approved uses be removed
We
from
didn't
this
take the
ordinance.
recommendation.
I know, obviously
so-
not. Okay,
so-
they did not take the recommendations, so let's call for a vote. Do you have a comment?
I do. So I had written something out for tonight, and it kind of summed up what Doc had said. Tonight's vote isn't about the landfills, the go-karts, or the pulp manufacturing. These have been in the city code since 1978, and they are as conditional uses, which I guess Eric or maybe Chuck can kind of go over that after. But we still are in the process of updating our zoning code, and I look forward to addressing the concerns of what you have suggested in future workshops and discussing and deleting some of the old uses that could impact our community. I think all of us sitting up here want to address this and want to do the best thing for our community. Tonight, it's about the zoning ordinance that we've all been working so hard on. We have had countless workshops, hours. I'll go in Eric's office for hours. He's probably sick of seeing me. Paige Hadley, who is the consultant planner who specializes in the zoning updates and who is also recommended by the Northwest Georgia Regional Commission, has been helping us. Eric, who's had 40 plus years in other municipalities, is helping us. Chuck, who's also from kind of a smaller town, Carrollton, and has seen it grow, because I used to go to school there, has seen what happens. I know that when I went walking around talking to people, I took notes. I have it here. I've flipped through. Almost every person in there had commented, not every person, but I asked them what they wanted, and it was to control growth, was what they'd said. I looked back over the Kiker property situation with just 54 to 60 units, the uproar about that, other condominiums that were townhomes that were going to come in. I looked at the paper articles of citizens coming out saying, the citizens say that there's enough. Growth in Blue Ridge has residents worried about losing the hometown feel and has made the city such a great place to live. Everything being packed in here too closely. And people can call it new urbanism all they want, but neither the locals nor the people coming here to escape the new urbanism in the metro areas, they come here to get away from that. I can tell you from what I'm seeing, it turns my stomach. We need thoughtful development, or we're gonna lose what's precious about Blue Ridge. It's gotten too much,
Yes.
too uncontrolled with no vision. We need to keep our identity in Blue Ridge. Citizens are saying enough of this without, growth has been all but uncontrolled in Blue Ridge, and the infrastructure reflects that. I went to the zoning meetings. I sat there and I listened, and as I was listening to the developers being like, oh, we want to put this on this land because, you know, we're going over the zoning code. They want to be able to build high. They, you know, people, all over the U.S. there's housing needs. And so they're like, oh, let's put housing here and housing here. And I was like, well, if these 12 developers, or the developers that had got up and spoke, how many units would this allow to come into our hometown? Like, if we allow this, and like you said, we need to get at the head of it before it's too late. And as what were proposed, I had somebody help me go over the numbers I took notes on every single person that, you know, that had spoken stuff, and like if they were wanting to put in however many units and people, and I did like a rough estimate, and I had help with this, it would end up making our population go from double it to around 1,500. That is scary. And if we're not making these changes, which we all ran on, that could be the potential. Our infrastructure cannot hold that. I did run on, like, helping citizens and making sure we have a quaint hometown, and I don't want to pack people in here like sardines. That doesn't give anybody a quality of life. And you know, we have people that, you know, are against Airbnbs in the county, and it's like they don't want that noise next to them. Well, if you're putting quadruplexes and all these duplexes right up next in R2 next to people, what kind of quality of life is that? I have no tree buffers. You look around, there's no huge tree buffers that are like in the county. Your houses are like 10 to 20 feet away from each other's houses. It would be irresponsible if we didn't try to make some kind of change to help keep our hometown what it is. I'm not saying we have to stop growth by any means, but I think it would be very irresponsible if we didn't try to help, you know, our town grow in the correct way. And we're trying to come up with a plan and work on this together, and we all agreed. We voted unanimously on this.
So I totally, I get your point, but that's not even on the table tonight. We're not talking about housing. You're talking about growing responsibly, and that's why this ordinance was vetoed, because to me, having the opportunity to have a paper manufacturing plant or a landfill right next, I mean, I've spoken to Miss Middleton many times, the scary thought of someone allowing a landfill right beside her, or a motorbike track. That's growing responsibly too. It's not just how tall your buildings are, it's what you allow into your community. Do you want to become an area when you come into town like Gatlinburg where there are go-kart tracks everywhere and flashing lights? And I mean, I don't, but that's just my vision.
May I ask a question of the city attorney and the city manager? Specifically, we have met for 1 year, April to April, or April to March. That's close enough for a year. Has any member of the city council, or has the mayor specifically asked of our consultant or you to line item the items that this was vetoed for, asked you to have those pulled out during any of the numerous modifications and changes that we have made? The question there is, has anybody on the city council or the mayor specifically asked Paige Hadley, the city administrator or the city attorney, to, during the modification process, strike these from that document?
No, but I believe she did bring it up in one of the.
I'm asking if they were asked, I know you were specifically asked by many members of this council to do other things which we discussed and which were then memorialized or decided not to be placed in there. No one specifically mentioned to you nor the city attorney, please work on getting these scratched. That's my only question. The answer is no and no. Thank you.
This,
Well-
what I was talking about wasn't about how, it was about us working on our,
Yeah,
our
and there's no
ordinances.
doubt, we have worked on this ordinance very hard. I've been at every meeting. I helped initiate getting it, going, and yeah, there's no doubt we've worked extremely hard, which is the reason it's taken us a year to get it to this point. Again, let's do it perfect. Let's not just half bake it. Let's do it perfectly. And that's my opinion. And yes, I have, Dr. Whaley mentioned numerous times at meetings, and again, so has the Planning Commission. And no, I didn't go in there. I've let, you guys have kind of taken control of everything and given every idea. And I have talked to Eric about it several times. So, you know, I kind of think things should be processed the way it should be processed. And I'm disappointed that it wasn't removed. I mean, but again, we're not talking about housing, we're talking about these items, so.
Eric, in our next workshop, we can remove these, right? And address this.
We have another package coming out this month, and it's 6 other chapters. So yes, you can go back and address these.
You can,
Definitely.
yeah, we can go back and address them at with the next phase. But my whole point is we're addressing them now. Why not address them now? So, because I think we're going to have to go back and do that. So,
Okay, so did you not know that by you adding that and the council voted on it, that someone can challenge it?
can challenge
That-
what?
Challenge the whole thing.
Adding what?
They could challenge that the ordinance itself, everything that we voted on could be.
By me
not
adding
valid.
what? I'm.
The three things that you wanted, the reason for you voting, adding these, to take these
No
conditional
one
uses out.
can challenge this, no. Could you explain? I don't know what she's talking about, but I've talked to Chuck about that. I think what the question was is, he had been asked earlier, two questions. If we go ahead and we approve the mayor's veto or whatever, we're gonna override it. If there could be a second part of that where we come back and address these after that, and he said no, it would invalidate it. If you do it as one motion, as I had suggested in my letter, if you said I would like to veto the mayor's ordinance with these provisions, it would not invalidate anything.
Is that correct?
I think that it's cleaner
Yes.
for there to be an up or down vote on the veto. And then if there are additional changes to be made to the zoning ordinance, I think it's cleaner to consider them as part of the next round. Because then you don't get into concerns about the zoning procedures law and where the proposed changes have presented themselves throughout the process, have gone before the planning commission and whatnot. That said, I don't see anything that would prevent the council from, in a motion to override a mayoral veto, to make additional changes to what is being proposed. But I do think then that would require the amended ordinance to then be presented again to the mayor with an opportunity to veto and then be re-presented to you guys. So anytime you add more procedural steps, you're, inviting the opportunity at least to make a mistake in doing it. And so that's why, in my view, the cleanest thing to do, if it is the wishes of the council, is to have an up or down vote on the veto, and then any additional changes be considered as part of the next round of changes to the zoning ordinance, because then you don't get into concerns about the zoning procedures law and concerns about the process as it's set forth in the charter.
So basically, if we had if we did take those changes that she wanted in a motion, then we would not have been following the state zoning laws on presenting those changes to the planning commission.
That's,
So-
no, that's
so
not what he's saying,
I,
Angie.
I was
Yeah.
asked about two different
Yeah.
scenarios. One scenario was, could the council, as part of one motion, override the mayor's veto subject to additional changes to the ordinance? That's one question. The other question I was asked was could there be an up or down vote on the veto, and depending on the result of that vote, could there be a second motion to then override the veto with additional changes to the zoning ordinance? My concern about the second approach is that under our charter, the process ends with either the vote, with the vote to override the veto, right? It either is overridden, therefore the ordinance becomes law, or it's not overridden, and therefore the ordinance does not become law. Additional changes after that, in my view, would have to go back through the process, would have to go back before the planning commission and start over, not because of what our charter says, but because of what the zoning procedures law says.
So this is much cleaner, is what you're saying?
From a legal standpoint,
It's much cleaner.
It is much.
This is- this
It's
is
cleaner, but what,
This is the best way to
when
go.
I spoke with, Chuck on Thursday, did I call you last Thursday or Friday? I think I called you last Friday. That was a recommendation, and that's why I wrote the letter the way I did, that the council would override my veto with the following provisions. Otherwise, I never would have put, please override my veto. I did it at our attorney's request. That's how he said I should write it if I were to write it that way. So,
I want to be clear. I didn't recommend anything.
no, he did not recommend he did not recommend at all that I veto it. That was not what he recommended. But he said if you
I'm
were
just-
going to do it,
I'm
this is
just-
how you would do it. So
I'm
just to make sure I was following legal guidance.
Okay, but my
Yeah.
thing is, if we do anything other than what we've actually discussed, voted on, first reading, second reading, then there's a possibility that somebody could come back and challenge that it's not valid at all.
Well, to
We
be-
don't need to do that.
I think we
have a
have someone in the,
motion.
we have someone in the
I vote to
audience right now challenging the fact that it wasn't even, there was no motion made on the first motion. So the second reading,
Is it
I
someone
simply,
that
I
was
simply, I simply made a comment, do I have a motion? And no motion was made, and Bill said, so moved, and then we had a second, I believe, by Miss Art. But to be honest, if someone wants to really question it, let's question, was there really even a motion in the first place? And I would say no.
Madam Mayor, I am of the
Yes.
opinion that the motion was to vote to overturn the veto, and that we have gotten off the main point.
I totally
consider
agree.
I am
And-
calling the question.
Mhm.
The question has now been called.
Okay, so let's have a roll call vote.
Sorry.
We'll start with Bill.
Bill,
Bill,
you, Bill.
Yeah.
So,
we're
I vote.
voting. Yes or no?
for your veto?
Yeah, yes.
I think
Over-
override veto.
Okay, you vote to override it, okay?
I vote
Christie?
to override the veto.
I vote to override the veto.
Okay,
I vote
Angie?
to override the veto.
And Dr.
I made the
Whalen?
motion, I vote so.
Okay, then I would say meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
I thought we had one more agenda item.
Oh, we do, actually. Never mind. So I guess the moratorium, which hopefully this will now be removed so that people can start building.
Okay, so, the last meeting, we, made the motion to have the moratorium include everything, and that it would be in effect until, the zoning changes was in place, or in effect. So we've overrode the veto, so, but we've still got more parts to it, some important parts. So I'm gonna make a motion to extend the moratorium to R2 and R3 until we finish our zoning we complete our zoning changes.
Just R2 and R3. Why, Matt asked just R2
Because
and
it's
R3?
multifamily and it has a larger impact on the community.
I second.
Okay. Okay, have a second? Let's have a roll call vote. Okay, Dr. Whaley?
First I've heard of it, I will abstain.
Okay. Angie?
Yes.
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 Oh, did you give a date? Until,
I'm sorry, extend the moratorium, I make a motion to extend the moratorium on R2 and R3 for 90 days.
90 days, okay.
Yes.
I
So-
second.
Okay, so let's do that again. You're gonna abstain, Angie, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good deal. Now, meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you all for being here.